Hi guys, it's Victoria, and today I thought I would talk about some of the middle grade books that I would love to read but just haven't got around to yet. In honor of Middle Grade March, I was thinking about how I'm so sad that there's so many amazing middle grade books that are so well loved and awarded and praised, and I just feel like I'm not very well versed in this genre. I've had my favorites that I read when I was that age, but after I reached a certain age, I kind of stopped reading them. And I love Middle Grade March because it has kind of reignited the flame to delve back into that genre because there's so many gems. The first book that I would like to talk about is Wonder by A.J. Palacio. I actually learned about this book because I'm a school teacher, and at the school that I was teaching at the time, I would see my middle schoolers walk around with this book, and I believe they had to read it for a class. And I remember seeing the cover and being very intrigued by it. This is about a student named Augie, and Augie has, I think, a facial deformality, and he is basically going through life trying to figure out how he fits in and how he interacts with other students with this disability. It is so difficult to be a kid as it is, and then to have a facial deformity that sets you aside and is something so visible to other kids is, I'm sure, an incredible story. And so I would really like to read Wonder. The next book I want to talk about is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is just a gorgeous book, first of all, and second of all, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I could be wrong, but I think this is a middle grade fantasy, and it is about a witch who lives in a forest, and the town that surrounds this forest basically brings her a baby as a sacrifice, I think, every year. They do this because they do not want the witch to terrorize the town, and somehow this is going to stop her from doing that. However, they have the witch misunderstood, and I think the witch is actually like raising the children. One day the witch accidentally feeds one of the babies moonlight instead of sunlight, and that creates a different kind of magic in this child. I'm not sure, but our story unfolds from there. This one just sounds magical and charming in every way, and I would love to get to it. The next book I want to talk about is one I actually am planning on reading for Middle Grade March, and we're nearing the end of March, but I still have like 10 days or so, so I think I can do it. But that is The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I haven't yet read anything by Rick Riordan, and he is wildly popular, especially this Percy Jackson series. This story has Greek mythology and Greek gods involved. I believe our main character discovers that he is the son of Poseidon, who is the Greek god of the sea. Is that right? Yes, I think so. I've just heard this is a lot of fun, and it is just an enjoyable story and quite an adventure. And I don't know how many books there are in the series. I think there's quite a lot though. So I would love to get a middle grade series under my belt. Since we're talking about series, I am absolutely ashamed that I haven't read these, but I have seen the Netflix version of this, but I have not read the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I know, how dare I? This is such a staple middle grade series, and I absolutely adore the show. I don't think I ever saw the movie with Jim Carrey, but apparently that one's not very good. But the Netflix special is spectacular. It's so well done, and I am dying to read these books. I don't know why I haven't. Why haven't I read these books? As you probably already know about this series, it follows 3 orphans. They're the Baudelaire orphans, and they just have devastation after devastation happen to them. The whole spin of the series is that everything that's going to happen is negative and unfortunate, and the narrator is always telling you to turn back now, don't keep reading, because you're gonna regret this. And I just think that is such a brilliant and unique way to tell a story, to literally tell your reader not to read the story. It's just really different, and I would love to see that in printed form. The next book I want to talk about is a middle grade classic, and that is The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is a dystopian middle grade book, and I think actually a series as well. I believe it's a quartet. And I haven't heard a lot about the other books, but I've heard a lot about The Giver. I just feel like this is one of those books that I have to read before I die. This is a bucket list book for me. I own it. I have it on the shelf somewhere over there, but I haven't read it yet. So this is a must. The next one I want to talk about is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This is another story that I already know and I really enjoyed the movie. And by the way, the movie is terrifying and very creepy. And I'm sure the book is also creepy. I'm familiar with Neil Gaiman. I've read Anansi Boys by him, and also ashamed I've only read that one. I have so much Neil Gaiman to get to, but Coraline just seems like a really accessible Neil Gaiman to read. It follows a young girl who moves to a new flat, and in her flat there are 14 doors and only 13 of them open, and then the 14th one does not open. She somehow finds her way into the 14th door and discovers sort of an alternate reality, an alternate universe in the flat. And there's another family in this flat that wants to keep Coraline and has perhaps a scary agenda, shall we say. This is a short one too. It's only 162 pages, so no excuse not to read this. The next book that I want to talk about is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. The Wild Robot is about a robot named Roz, and Roz just wakes up one day and discovers she exists and that she's on a remote island all by herself, and she has to figure out what her existence is. I forget who I heard talk about this book, but someone on BookTube definitely talked about this book and raved about it, and it just looks really interesting. It's very mysterious. It's got a mysterious plot line, and a story about a robot can never be a bad thing. I love stories about robots. Shout out to the Iron Giant. That's a good story about a robot. The next story I want to talk about is The Penderwicks by Jeanne Birdsall. And this is one I've heard Kaylee from Books for MKs talk about. It's, I think, one of her favorites, and I really like her taste in books, so I put it on my list. And it sounds like a charming, fun series. It is about a group of sisters and their summer adventures on an estate. I'm not sure whose estate. The Arundel estate. And that's really all I know. But I take Kaylee's recommendations very seriously. The next book I have to talk about is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This is an award-winning book, and it is told in verse. I have not really read many fiction books that are in verse, and this just seems like a good place to start. I wonder if the audiobook is any good, because I feel like that might be a way to go with something that's in verse. But this is actually about Woodson herself and her experiences growing up in the 1960s and 70s. She grew up in South Carolina and New York, and this follows her own experience growing up, becoming aware of the civil rights movement and of her place in it. As a child, she found her joy in writing stories and found a voice that way, and that obviously carried through into her adulthood. And this just sounds like a powerful book and one I don't want to miss. And finally, the last book I have to talk about is The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. The only reason I know about this is because my nieces have read it and they really like the series. And so I would like to follow along with them and see what the buzz is about. There are so many other middle grade books that I would love to get to, but that's at least 10 of them for now. I guess I'll stop there. Let me know down below in the comments which one of these middle grade books I should get to first. Probably Percy Jackson, because I'm already doing that. And probably The Giver, because I own it. All the other ones I have to buy, but let me know down below which of these you've read and have enjoyed. I hope you're having a great month of March. Again, middle grade March is happening, and so it's a good time to pick some of these books up. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you have not already. And I would love to get to know you and chat with you in the comments. Have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.